Okay, we are live now. Finally, fucking live. Sorry for the late start. Bad internet. StreamYard is a pain in the fucking arse. Apologies, guys. Lorne's been in. Probably gave up and gone. Come back, Lorne. DJ was in an hour ago. Hopefully, DJ comes back. Anthony, what's up, man? How's things in Newcastle? Hope things are good. How's that Saudi Arabian takeover going for you guys? I look. What the fuck is wrong with my face? Colour just terrible. Is it the mic? I don't know. General. I've just got no colour, so trying to give more of a glow. See a few people to jump on in, hopefully. Who's in the chat now? 2 people. Oh, yeah, Slon Cloud9. Don't be wearing any of those tea towels on your head, though. Cultural appropriation, Anthony. Don't be doing that. Yeah, because what you're doing is really, really wrong. But what the Saudi Arabian government does is perfectly okay. So just remember, you're the bad guy for wearing that stuff. But they're okay to do what they do in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Oh, okay. If you want to jump on, Lorne, jump on. You know, I know you're more of a Hellfast guy, but you know, Haunts is a great movie as well. Great chat as well. Great stream before. There's a lot to be said for a Saturday afternoon live stream on the East Coast, because tell you what, those numbers were insane. Chat was amazing. So if you live stream on a Saturday afternoon, you're getting all the European guys in, you're getting Australian guys, you're getting guys from the States. Makes sense. And it's better for me as well. Oh my God, Piss is in the chat as well. Piss, what's up, man? Holy shit. I am feel honoured tonight, I really do. I will put a link in the chat if anyone wants to jump on. So if anyone wants to jump on, the link is there for a live stream of Haunts, one of my favourite go-to movies of the last couple of years. There's been quite a slew of the sort of extreme haunted house horror films from maybe 2014 to 2015 onwards. Maybe they've died down a little bit, but if you look at the likes of the House Octoberfest, which I think maybe went under a different name in the US, but certainly in the UK it was known as the Houses Octoberfest. There's 2 of them that dropped in the mid 2010s. Obviously Hellfest, we got Haunt. There was another one that escapes me at the minute. But yeah, in terms of possibly one of my favourite I'm not saying genres, it's like a micro genre, I suppose, but when it comes to Halloween, this is just a go-to film now. A film I've only seen twice. Saw it when it came out. Well, not when it came out, maybe a couple of months after it came out. Then saw it, I watched it Halloween last year, and now, I mean, I'll watch it now, but this is more of a kind of just a watch along, and then just engaging in chat and maybe not paying too much attention. This will be watched again either Halloween night or on the 30th, along with Hellfest and Hell House LLC. That's like a triple whammy. You can't what those three films back to back. And maybe Halloween night is probably not the best night to watch. Maybe I always think like the night before Halloween is sometimes better because Halloween night, if it's getting towards late on, Halloween's nearly over, and I kind of like the idea of watching these films the night before Halloween. So it's kind of like you're looking forward to Halloween itself. Maybe do three films like this, like Hellfest and your Haunt and your something like the Hell House LLC. Do it the night before, and then on the main event itself, maybe do Halloween 1 and 2, or 1 and 4, or do 1 and 3, 2 and 3. Mix it up a bit, whatever you want to do. But yeah, there's no shortage of like quality Halloween movies to do around between the 20th and the 31st of October. I mean, if you were going to watch a Halloween related movie every night for the whole month, I don't know how many good ones there are, because there's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of really really bad Halloween related films, but yeah, you can't go wrong. I mean, once you hit the 20th, 21st of October, just start going with the sort of like with the staples. Really, you can't go wrong. But anyway, I'm just gonna click play. So if anyone wants to watch along, I am about to press play now. Well, at least I would do if it loaded up properly. Yeah, still having some internet problems in the UK. Well, certainly where I am. Just bear with me, guys. It's been up and down all evening. Oh my god, this is such annoying. I think we finally got it going. Yes, finally. I didn't know this was Shudder. Was this a Shudder exclusive? As in, did they have the rights to this from the very beginning, or was this something that they acquired after release? Because Shudder have got, a few decent movies, but this is like kind of like this is a top-notch film for them. If this is a film that they exclusively own, in the way that Netflix own Stranger Things, then this is a top-notch movie by Shudder standards. Obviously, I'm not talking by Amazon Prime or Netflix standards, but Shudder have they're starting to acquire a decent sort of like collection of movies, and some of their original TV shows, if they are original TV shows that they own. I mean, like Slasher, season one, I had a good time with. Season two was a lot more gory, which I've got no problem with. I thought the storyline on it, I thought Slasher season two storyline wasn't as strong as the first one, but certainly upped the game in terms of like gore. But yeah, the opening to Horns, just the build, you can see work going on inside this extreme haunted house, and they cut obviously to these Carbondale, Illinois. And I wonder how far that is from Haddonfield. It'd be kind of cool if this was in the same universe. One thing about Haunts, I've always felt that the cast were not quite as likable as Hellfest. I'm going to probably compare these two films a lot because there was 12 months between both films, so very similar in terms of setup. So this comparison's going to be inevitable, but yeah, the cast slightly less likable than Hellfest, but that's not. I'm not knocking this film in any respect. It's just it's a film that doesn't quite hold up. On initial watch, I did actually prefer this film, but from going back to these films, I think I've seen Hellfest twice since the original watch, and I think I've seen this film once since the original watch. And I think Hellfest holds up better. Anthony, I bought a photo version of Blu-ray of Horns. Don't get a physical release in the UK. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, this is, let's say this is on. I think this is on Shudder now. But I remember when this came out, I just remember it getting really. I remember everyone like raving about this film, saying, "Oh, this is check this." It's not a film that maybe sort of went under the radar for me. I remember when the film came out, it immediately grabbed my attention because everybody like in our sort of circles, everybody was talking about this film, saying, "Oh, this is a really really good, sort of almost like a return to the '80s style of, just a good old fashioned slasher come haunted house, in sort of along the lines of oh my god, what's it called, Funhouse." And well, I mean, I was never the biggest fan of Funhouse, the Funhouse from '81, is it '82? And I saw that film years later, and I think that played a part in me not being a massive fan. It was like a lot of films of the early '80s, which didn't really cross over into the mainstream in the way that maybe the Carpenter films did. It was a bit slow paced for my liking. Quite a few of these films in the early '80s, which are kind of regarded now as classic slasher films, they never really, although I enjoy them, they were rather too slow paced. I mean, a perfect example would be Final Exam, where it's just, you spend 55 minutes setting the film up before your first kill, which is all well and good if you've got a director like John Carpenter on board who can make you feel empathy for the characters. But when you're talking about a film where you don't give a damn about the characters, well, it's a bit of a bore fest. So, and other films like I think Graduation Day, which is another film which I couldn't warm to. Another film which to me took far too long getting to getting anywhere. Certainly took too long getting to any decent kills. I'm just in the scene in the nightclub now. I mean, one of the main issues with a lot of these modern, I mean, certainly, if I know what you did last summer, the TV show, which I am watching and I'm quite enjoying, is, and maybe it's always been this way, but you just have zero empathy for like any of like the majority of the young people in these shows or films. That all they seem to just, because most of them are going to be cannon fodder for like killers. A lot of them are just set up as being the most narcissistic douchebag bitches, sluts, you name it, ever conceived. So they're set up in that way, maybe because you want them to die, and then you have this one character, this one woman or one man, girl, boy, whatever, who doesn't fit into that typical sort of characteristic. But it's quite unrealistic. People, I mean, are young people really that despicable? I mean, maybe that's a strong word, but it's when you watch I Know What You Did Last Summer, maybe this generation now of cell phone obsessed, social network obsessed young people, it's hard to have any sort of like affinity for them. And especially when you maybe I just sound like an old fart, but a, a show like I Know What We Did Last Summer, there's like one likable. Is she even likable? The one character's likable, whereas the rest are just totally vain, totally narcissistic, and just the most shallow people you could possibly imagine. And then when you look at something like Squid Game, obviously coming out of South Korea, they just seem to be. I mean, would a show like that be made in the US or Europe? I don't know. And I've only seen one episode of Squid Game, but I'm really looking forward to checking the rest of it out. But the first episode was really, really entertaining. Still getting the build up I mean, the opening 20 minutes of Haunt is just prepping, ready for the journey to this extreme haunted house, which, I mean, it's not really a thing in the UK. Maybe there are a few places that do it, but it's just, to my knowledge, it's not something that's really a thing. Um, but I can imagine in the US, imagine just so many little places out of the beaten track where you could just pull this shit off. I mean, I mean, literally, you could pull off the sort of thing that goes on in this film. Because obviously Hellfest is a legitimate haunted house thrill ride Halloween thing where it's not obviously meant to be killing off the guests. This is a legitimate, extreme haunted house ride where they are just killing people, much in the same way as the house is October built, which I need to let me Google that because I know it's got a different name in the US. That movie. But I can never remember what it's called because it's definitely got a different name in the US. So I could be saying the house is October built, and people in the US are like, "What the hell is that?" Mind you, it's just coming up. Well, maybe it is called that in the US after all. I was under the impression it had a different name, but maybe not. Anyway, how was that? They're on the way to the haunted house now. Few and far between your key for haunts, yeah. Which it's just too. It's just. Oh, so I've got the name. So what I've been calling it is the US title, and it's called The Houses of Halloween in the UK. Okay, that explains it. Just on the way now to the. There's a nice touch with the mobile phones in this film. Mobile phones, cell phones. I say mobile phones. Americans say cell phones, but taking the phones off them before they enter. It's a nice touch because obviously this is a major issue now with horror films, with any film where somebody's in peril. How do you get around the phone situation? So obviously, when before they entered, phones are confiscated. So it gives it a more realistic twist on the whole thing. Just 13 minutes in, just 10, 13 minutes, if you're watching along. All right, Sean, what's up, man? If you want to watch along, we are just at the 13 minutes, 40-second mark. They're just approaching the, well, whatever you want to call it, the extreme haunted house. I like the masks in this film, but they're not overly creepy. They're a bit kind of. There's nothing there like sort of. There's nothing like an OG Michael Myers mask in this film, or like a Leatherface mask, which is truly sort of terrifying. It's kind of a bit hokey. I mean, certainly the clown guy here, he's just not really intimidating. But obviously, it's more about what you do and what you look like. But I mean, if I saw this guy in the street, I'd be like, yeah, you're not going to do nothing to me. But if I seen a guy with a Michael Myers mask, I'd be like, well, certainly an OG Myers mask. Yeah, you'd probably be bricking it. Nice little touch that they signed disclaimers as well. Gives it more of an air of authenticity. I mean, what are your guys' go-to films for Halloween anyway? Sean, Anthony, what you be watching Halloween night? Is it Halloween Fest, or is it just a mixture? Do you even watch horror films Halloween night, or are you too busy trick or treating? Is trick or treating really a thing in the UK? Apart, it's just not a big deal in the UK like it is in America, is it? Obviously little kids do it, but probably double bill two horror films. I get you. Trick or Treat Hellfest Night of the Demons 20s now. Oh, Night of the Demons. Jay did Night of the Demons 2 from the early 90s on his live stream the other day. And I've not seen Night of the Demons 2. I think I've seen the first one. I've not seen the 2009 remake. That could be worth checking out. Yeah, Trick or Treat's a no-brainer. That film is just like a perfect Halloween movie. 14 years old, that film as well. It feels like it only came out about like 9 years ago. 2007, I think it came out. But I think the reason with that is I think with Trick or Treat, I think it was a good 3 or 4, 5 years before it started to gain any sort of acknowledgement. It was kind of maybe a slow burn, and as the years went on, it became kind of like a word of mouth thing, and people suddenly started getting on to how good a film it was. Yeah, definitely. It's totally different when you're a kid. I mean, I was gonna say, I think a lot of the hate that Halloween Kills gets, and let's face it, and look, if you watch my stream from last week about it, I wasn't overly favourable of it. I was quite critical of a lot of the things in the film, but I think a lot of that is down to growing up with the franchise as a kid, and so anything new that comes out, it can be quite. I think you pick more holes with a franchise or like a new film that comes out when you've grown up with a certain expectation of what a franchise is. And I think Halloween Kills is a perfect example of that. I've rewatched it and I like it more this time than I did when I watched it on the big screen. I watched it on, streaming and the second time on a small screen. And I've just, because my expectations are less going into a second screening. And because I'm not expecting as much of it because I know what happens, and I can kind of like airbrush the really bad bit out of the film. The God, what's it? Tommy Doyle? God, Tommy. I keep calling him Tommy Wallace for some reason because Tommy Wallace directed Halloween 3. I was calling him Tommy Wallace on the first live stream, on last week's live stream, and I think Jay was calling him something as well. He was calling him Tommy Jarvis, I think. It's like nobody can remember Tommy Doyle's name. But yeah, I think if you can go into it with just a completely a fresh outlook on it, just get rid of all preconceptions about the franchise and just go in with just a fresh approach. And I think you enjoy it more. And you know what? I watched 2018 the other night. It was on BBC Four here, obviously in the UK. That film is fucking atrocious. And I might feel the same about Kills in a couple of years, but watching that film back, fucking hell, that is a god awful film. I mean, Sartain is like he's like a character from the Rob Zombie films. Just and it's dull. It's really, really boring. Jamie Lee Curtis is very, very. You know what? I'm glad there was less of Jamie Lee Curtis in Kills because she is annoying in 2018. She's annoying. I don't like Jamie as this survivalist sort of character. At the end of the day, it doesn't even make much sense if you think about it. Guy goes on a rampage. 2018 logic. He's just a normal guy. Forget this. Forget this new take on it with Kills, which completely bypasses 2018. In 2018, he's meant to be brought back to being a normal guy. So this normal guy goes on a rampage on Halloween night in 78. Okay, he kills a few people. Don't get me wrong, that's bad. But he's caught pretty much immediately after attacking Jamie Lee Curtis, after attacking Laurie. Is hauled off by the police. Hauled off by the police. But she's got it in her head that he's going to come back at some point. She's got no evidence to suggest this. It's just a feeling. Is that really a reason to go like full on survivalist and just okay? She's had a child and she's had the grandchild, but then she goes off into the woods and just lives this lifestyle because she expects him to turn up. I don't. It doesn't really go with the logic of the first film. If this was to be based on the idea that Michael had escaped part two, this is more of the route he took it in 2018 is the route I would expect it to have taken in, maybe Halloween H2O, where she'd had, the events of Halloween 2 happen, where he is just this unstoppable monster, and even an explosion can't kill him. But this idea that she kind of can predict that he's going to just escape based on what? He killed a few people and he did get shot 4 or 5 times, but like he could have had a bulletproof vest on. He could have just been an extremely very, extremely tough individual who can take a lot of punishments, but it doesn't really explain why she chooses the life she does. And like I say, but maybe she was right to choose life she does because in Halloween Kills, and as I say, this film is appealing to me more after a second watch. They have just done away with the whole Michael's human again, which is just, I don't know. They meant to be bringing him back, to be more human, like a normal. He's never going to be normal, but just slightly one level above a human. And then they've just gone completely over. They've just completely thrown that out the water, out the window now. And now Michael basically can't be killed with any sort of normal forms of what do you use to kill him? Because knives, irons, they don't work. So short of chopping his head off and his arms and legs off, I don't see what can work. Guns won't work. He's get his fingers blown off and shot a couple of times. He does. But that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's like at the beginning, in 2018, at the end of 2018, obviously he's burned, sort of, at the end of the film. He's trapped in the house and comes back. But why were they trying to make out that we're going back towards a more human Michael when they clearly knew in Halloween Kills that they were just going to make him this unstoppable killing machine? So why even pretend that he's going to be going back to a level just above human? More than 5 and 6. I like hand kills more than 5 situation. Yeah, me too. I do too. Sure. I think it's definitely better than 5. It's maybe not. I don't know. 6. I'd probably put it on par. I'd say it's better than 5. It's on par with 6, and it's definitely better than the Rob Zombie films. Reason, reason. Yeah, it's like the Blob. I'd say you just chop his head off. There's no come. You can't come back from that. Oh, just chop one leg off. You can't do anything. Chop his right arm off. This is why I'll have to rewatch Haunt again, probably in a few days, because I don't even. I just end up talking, rabbit on. I put Haunt live commentary and then just put the film on and just start talking, straight into the chat, talking random stuff. Anyone in the chat as well? What's your opinions on the Alec Baldwin situation, by the way? Because that seems like a very, very, very strange situation. Like, how does a live gun end up in set? Is it a live gun? Is it a? You have these prop guns. They have live guns apparently, or it's meant to go through like 4 or 5 checks before it's fired. Like, how does this happen? I mean, I know Brandon Lee was killed on set. Maybe it definitely wasn't his fault. Sorry, I think they got messed in that. Yeah, well, they quickly went away from that sort of line of thinking. Yeah, Alec Baldwin. I don't know, because I feel bad for him because I've seen the photographs. He looks distraught, but I don't know. I'm not American, and I'm not that. But in terms of like maybe not that it makes much difference, but in terms of on a film set in the States, I've read that maybe that everybody is meant to check. The person who checks the gun passes to someone else who checks. The actor who fires checks themselves. It's like everybody has to check. There's like 4 or 5 checks go in place before anything's fired on set. So basically, he should have checked them as well. But I don't know. I mean, what does this guy know about real guns? Does he not know any? I mean, I wouldn't have any knowledge about real guns. I wouldn't know the difference. In the UK, we don't even have access to guns. Like 99% of the people no access. So it seems to be a really strange one. You've got real bullets on a real well. Apparently, a gun that shoots blanks though can kill people as well. If it can fire any sort of projectile, it can obviously kill. But I mean, by all accounts, this is a gun that's firing real bullets. I don't know how it works. I just don't. And why was the cinematographer shot? I mean, if he's filming on a set, why was she in the firing line? You knocked it. It is up to control where was under the guns. Also, but I mean, you heard the stories as well about like the day before. There was 2 misfires on the set. So there were 2. When it says misfires, does that mean gun discharges? Apparently, about 6 or 7 camera crew walked up the set over the safety practices, saying they weren't up to scratch, and then apparently they just got a bunch of locals to come onto the set. The whole thing seems like an absolute shit show of an operation. And if this film goes ahead, I'll be well. I don't know how far into film they are, but you've got to question whether this film will even ever get released now, because there's going to be such a controversy around it. Yeah, currently 31 minutes in now. Anyone's up to the long? Don't think anyone's been killed yet. I like this, but at this point, they're still a little bit freaked out. Not quite sure what's going on. Obviously, it's that element of like, are they taking things too far, or are we just, it's like, it's that like it's, I suppose, with any like extreme haunted house ride, it's like they're kind of like, is this meant to happen, or is this too far? Did we sign up for this? And it's only when things really go too far that then obviously they realise the shit's hit the fan. Has anybody been keeping tabs on the? What's you guys' opinion on the Dave Chappelle stand up with the Netflix employees walking out in protest? I think that's quite. I've got a few things to say. I mean, I don't really want to go down that line tonight. Maybe next week on like just a regular live stream, but it's quite amusing. We just get the first. I think it was the first kill. Girl in the yellow dress. Knife through the head. Of course, there's that element of like, did we just see what we saw? Is this real? Is it special effects? Has anybody seen a new Netflix slasher film? There's somebody in your house. that was a that was. I'm in two minds about that film. It's not the best for some pretty in your face reasons, but it wasn't. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. Yeah, definitely, aren't they? Going off the beaten track in the States is a totally different kettle of fish to going off the beaten track in the UK. like I've said this before, you go off the beaten track in the UK, you're never more than like 20 minutes from, a decent sized road, get you back on the motorway. You go off the beaten track in the US, you're in a totally different world. Oh, you saw Dune. So what do you think, Sean? Bear in mind, I've never seen the original film, never read the book. I reckon I'd like it because, by all accounts, anyone who's got no experience with the book or the previous film apparently really likes it because they've got no preconceptions about it. So, yeah, I reckon I'd really enjoy it. But it certainly looks like it's the sort of film to be seen on a big screen. Apparently, saying, yeah, definitely see it on the big screen. Amazing film, best film seen this year. Yeah, people are saying, yeah, go to an IMAX and see it on the biggest screen possible. Have you seen? Are you a fan of the book or the previous film, or is it just something you wanted to see? Because a lot of people say that the book was almost impossible to film, and that's why David Lynch's version is such a mess. That it was just at the time it just wasn't possible to do. Maybe now, obviously, with 2 3 hour films, it's and plus hundreds of millions of dollars behind it, you can maybe do an interpretation of the book. But back in the early 80s, that just wasn't possible. Oh, this is one of the best scenes in The Haunt. It's the scene, obviously, where just a lot of like ghost-like figures, just like white cloths over on. This is really effective scene. Oh, so you've read the book as well. Cool. This scene's a really good example of just the simplicity of making an effective scare scene. Just a load of like not even mannequins, just it's just literally just a load of like it's just white sheets over a kind of like wooden poles, whatever it is. It's just but they've got the look of a ghost. I was surprised by the scene where he actually talks to the guy. He actually speaks to him. I thought they were going to be completely mute for the whole film, and when he just started talking to him like in a normal voice, kind of took me by surprise. if anybody's seen, if you really want to see an effective found footage, haunted, extreme haunted house film. Just I've mentioned it numerous times. Hell House LLC, which I was going to do a live stream for. I think I'm doing a live stream for it next week. Um, there's three films. They're all on Shudder. The first film, first one and three, I think. Well, one's the best by far. Two's decent and three's decent, but yeah, definitely the first film, just absolutely fantastic found footage film. One of the best found footage films of, you know, not just the 2010s, just period. Highly recommended and just an essential Halloween watch, really is. But yeah, just on, I'm sure the film's on Shudder still. I think Shudder have the exclusive rights to all three films. So picking my pre-order 4K, but Howling Monday. And you know what? The Howling was never a film that I was a massive fan of. I always felt it was. I mean, you could get that early, that's just like wave of, well, not wave, not really a wave, but early, very early 80s. You had the Wolfen, and you had obviously the Howling, and you had the American Werewolf in London. I always preferred Werewolf in London to the Howling. I always thought it was a far better film. Um, yeah, it was the Howling never really clicked with me. I don't know what it was. And I know a lot of people love it, but for whatever reason, it just didn't. And I don't think it's a bad film. I think for me, it's because it came out roughly at the same time as Werewolf in London. And obviously, at that time, I was too young anyway. But when I started getting into like horror movies, and I think they came along roughly the same time for me to be sort of getting into them. Maybe late 80s when I was just getting into the whole like 80s horror scene. And yeah, Werewolf in London was always my go-to sort of werewolf movie. But I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad film. I just think the sequels as well don't hold up either. Definitely, yeah, yeah. Candyman 20 is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. And you can't criticize that film. If you criticize that film, you're a racist. Don't forget, it's a perfect film. Werewolf in London, even though Lance killed people and so on. It is, yeah. I mean, John Landis never topped Werewolf in London. That was definitely the peak for me of his directing career. I've been to the Slaughtered Lamb as well. The Slaughtered Lamb. It's in Wales. It's not in Yorkshire. Most of the, I think most of the scenes. Certainly, there's the village from the film is in Wales. It's in mid to South Wales. I don't know if they did any filming in Yorkshire. The Slaughtered Lamb is definitely in Wales. it is just like slightly different. This film, you do see like a totally different like aspect to like the bad guys. You know, the scene now with the guy with like the sort of ghost mask on, just talking to them like regular guys, and he's just talking like in a regular voice, and kind of like strips away like the sort of the eeriness of the character, and it kind of makes him more human. But at the same time, it maybe like makes them feel a bit more relaxed. But clearly, that's what that character needs to do to get them on side, because there is that for the vast majority of this film, they're never entirely sure whether what they're experiencing is an extreme haunted house or they generally are getting fucked over. It's a similar film. It's similar with Houses October built. You know, as that film goes on, it gets more and more extreme, and they're never entirely sure. Like, you know, until the final crazy setup they actually visit, it just gets more and more extreme, and they keep on thinking this is going beyond, going above and beyond, and it is just an extreme haunted house. And until they finally turn up at a place where no, they are going to kill you. Creepshow season 3, is that even out? Is it? I thought we I thought we'd only had 2 seasons. There's season 3 now. I've only seen season 1. You sure it's not season 2, Anthony? Unless I'm so far behind the times that they've actually released a season 3 on Creepshow. I know there was 2, but I didn't know there was 3. I liked season 1 the majority, but it was just wasn't up to the level of the films. I think there was a couple of stories in season 1 of Creepshow which I thought were up to the level of the 2 movies, but I like the Head in the House, the Finger, or whatever it was called, and the kids, you know, the dead kids who were coming back to haunt the bully. Jesus Christ, I didn't know. I had no idea. Creepshow's into season 3. They've really been cranking them out. I mean, because season 1 only came out like a couple of years ago. But I suppose having said that, they're not really. I mean, the fairly low budget. I suppose you could probably knock them out at a decent pace. I mean, Shudder's killing it, man. Shudder's putting out some decent stuff. I mean, for what they charge a month, I mean, it's still like £5 a month or £6 a month. You know, that's not bad. But you know, it's like I mean, I pay for Amazon Prime, so I can't really afford to be getting too much. I mean, I think I got Shudder on a free month, you know, like a free contract for a month. Binge watched everything I wanted to see, got rid of it. I always do that with Netflix. Every time Netflix drops Stranger Things, I always just like I've always usually at this point entitled to like a free month. Get the free month, watch Stranger Things, watch everything else they've got on offer, and then just get rid of it again. Amazon Prime's the only streaming service where because of obviously Amazon Prime as a delivery service, it's the only one which I keep month in, month out. And with the Wheel of Time dropping in November, which I'm a massive Wheel of Time fan, if anyone's read the books, which I have, yeah, really looking forward to the Wheel of Time. And plus, you know, they consistently they do consistently bring out half decent stuff. So Shudder's getting much better. Yeah, it definitely seems to be. I mean, they've got Slasher season 3, which I've not seen, but that looks interesting. I think it's season 3. It could be season 4 now. I'm not even sure. Yeah, by this point, they know shit's gone down. Anybody watching, if we'll be going Monday night, be live on Piz's Patreon stream. I think it's 7 p.m. No, 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's gonna be like 1 in the morning, UK time. Should be on that. Well, yeah, we'll be on that. It's going to be a dress up stream. I haven't got, you know what? I was going to buy a mask because I'm not a mask guy because I don't really, I know a lot of the guys in the chat, a lot of guys in the community, they collect the Michael Myers masks and the Jason masks. And I've never been like someone like you really collect the masks. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a mask um, for the stream on Monday. I thought, I'll go on Amazon. I thought it's going to have to be a Michael mask, obviously a Michael Myers mask, but no real sort of knowledge about what constitutes a quality Michael Myers mask. There's so many out there, and some are like £65, some are £30, some £15. The reviews were like up and down, 2 stars, 4 stars, and I was just completely overwhelmed. And I thought, the one mask I saw a one mask. I thought I really liked the look of that, and it was like £70. I thought I can't justify that. So yeah, I hope I'm not the only person on the stream who's not wearing a mask. I bought along a couple of props, but not a mask. But yeah, it's just there's just so much out there in terms of when you get to Michael Myers masks. It's overwhelming, and I have no idea like what constitutes a good Michael Myers mask. The Christmas horror film. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Black Christmas '74. Black Christmas '74. Just to go to. Christmas Evil is another really good one. Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1, Part 2, not so much. I know it's a lot of people love the film, not for me. I think it's fun, but I think I prefer the original. I mean, Part 2 is basically 10 minutes of the first film anyway, so happy off some super stupid. Yeah, see Trick or Treat. See, that would mean nothing to me. Trick or Treat making decent masks, I wouldn't know. It's just. I mean, I like the t-shirt. I like t-shirts. I like jumpers. I don't really wear them on the streams that often. No, I do have some I've got some Michael t-shirts and some Jason t-shirts and jumpers and stuff. I don't really tend to wear them on the stream very often because when I do a stream, I usually do the stream in my pajamas. It's usually like I'm usually wearing like a dressing gown because it's like 12 o'clock at night, half 12 at night. I'm usually just like, especially in the winter, I'm just like I'm usually got like some sort of dressing gown on or something. But yeah, I'll probably just wear like a Michael Myers jumper or something for the stream on Monday. But yeah, no mask unfortunately. But I'd only have it on for 5 minutes. I'd have to take it off anyway because I can't talk and do shit with a mask on. No. Yeah, I could have got a ghost face, couldn't I? I mean, how much is a ghost face costume? Is it? I mean, isn't that like is Ghostface? Like, does nobody know? Like, nobody own the rights to Ghostface? Isn't it just like a generic? Maybe people do now, but I could have sworn that like when the film came out in '96, it was just this generic costume and that was used, and so it was never like the rights to that Ghostface costume on. I could be wrong. If I go on Amazon now and just type in Ghostface, I reckon I can get one for like a really, really cheap price. Ghostface mask. Yeah, yeah, yeah. £3, £5, £6. Yeah, they are really, really cheap. Yeah, you put in Michael Myers mask and you're talking £40 for some of them. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna do a live commentary of Scream in December because it dropped into it's even though it's not a Christmas movie, it came out in the UK in December of '96. So I'm gonna wait until December to do like because it's gonna be the 25th anniversary of Scream. So I thought I'll wait until then to do a live commentary of Scream, and it's a sort of film where I can really do a proper live. Whereas like a film like this, where I'm kind of like just getting distracted constantly, and Scream, I'll just really focus on the film because it's just a film, and I know every scene in this film, and I've seen it like 10, 12 times. So yeah, yeah, definitely December. That would be. Yeah, I think it's like it was released just before Christmas in '96. Apparently, I went to cinema to see it, but I think I might have seen it in the January of '97. I don't think I saw it. I don't remember. I don't remember watching this just before Christmas. But if you go on Wikipedia, apparently the release date was December '96. Michael's Michael Lawrence, Doctor. Yeah. Can you get a Doctor Loomis mask? Yeah. I mean, Scream was definitely the reinvention of slasher films, definitely, as far as I'm concerned. I know some people say that the slasher film never really went away, and maybe it didn't, like at the level of like maybe films coming out on VHS. But in terms of the cinema, you know, okay, we had New Nightmare in '94, which wasn't a traditional slasher film in the way that Freddy Krueger was real, and was playing Freddy Krueger as if Freddy Krueger was a real life character, and it was very meta, more so than Scream. But that was never really felt like a proper slasher film because just of the real world elements to it. Like yeah, I mean, obviously, Curse of Michael Myers was '95, but Michael, the Halloween franchise was dead at this point, and that wasn't going to be the resurgence the horror needed. And obviously, there was like a lot of like low budget stuff that came out before that. Jason Goes to Hell, which was just like the death knell for that franchise for a long time. And you obviously had Candyman '92, which was, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Candyman. For me, Candyman was just like too much of an urban slasher. Slasher films to me are more, it's suburban, it's rural, it's high school, college. It's not a slasher film to me isn't a film that's set like in the inner city. So definitely for me, Scream was the rebirth of slasher films, and the box office said tells you that much. Scream was by far and away the biggest box office hit for a horror film. Um, uh, well, in the 90s, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I'm talking like just as a traditional horror film. Obviously, something like Silence of the Lambs, if you want to class it as a horror film, would have done more money probably. But in terms of just like a slasher film, Scream must have been the biggest box office hit of the 90s. I can't think of anything that would have even come close to it. I mean, unless you include Blair Witch, but Blair Witch was that was found footage, so it's a horror film. But I mean, I'm talking like as a traditional slasher film. And I've always said I always make this argument for Scream is like without Scream, you would have got no. I know what he did last summer. No Urban Legend. No, maybe no Blair Witch Project, which then kicked off the whole found footage genre for the next like 10 years. I've always made the point is you can break down horror films. I always say the three most influential horror films of all time: Psycho, Friday the 13th, and Scream. And the reason I don't say, um, yeah, Halloween. Um, the reason I don't say Halloween as one of the three most influential films is because Halloween, that dropped in 78, you didn't really get a massive slew of horror films in 79, not in the same vein as Halloween anyway. It was when Friday the 13th dropped, and I know Friday the 13th was influenced by Halloween. Sean Cunningham said as much. But the fact of the matter is, it's only when Friday the 13th came out in 80 that you suddenly got this massive wave of slasher films in the following year and two. And it was Friday the 13th, in my opinion. I could be wrong, I stand to be corrected, but it was Friday the 13th that led to this wave of slasher films in the early 80s and not Halloween. Halloween certainly was the influence for Sean Cunningham, but the influence for all these other directors was seeing Friday the 13th make mega bucks for little money and just getting a bunch of teenagers together in a location and just slaughtering them. And I know obviously Halloween did the same thing, but you didn't get that same um, massive, influx of films in '79 like you did in '81. So I would say Friday the 13th over Halloween in terms of influence. And that's just my opinion. People want to look to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre didn't really influence anything. It came out in '74. You didn't get this massive wave of films in the following 4 or 5 years. It pretty much came and went. Hills of Eyes is similar. Hills of Eyes dropped in '77. You didn't see this massive wave of sort of backwards. Well, it's not even a backwards film. It's more like a sort of film set in, I don't know. It's harder to. Hills of Eyes is kind of sits alone in a way. It's with its setting. It's quite an unusual one. But yeah, so Psycho, Friday the 13th, Scream, the three most influential films of the horror genre for me. And I'm talking from 60 onwards. So, don't, if anyone starts bringing up how, Dracula, obviously, this is way before anything I'm aware of. Dracula, Frankenstein, I won't even go there because I don't know. I've got no knowledge of how influential they were. Obviously, they were massively influential, but, I'm talking not going that far back. I'm sure Lorne would have something to say about that, like, but you know, what I mean, way definitely knows far more about horror at that time period than I do. Yeah, that was obviously, you take your biggest star of the film and then kill her off in the first 5 minutes. Although at that point, Drew Barrymore really done anything for like 10 years at this point? I mean, she should have been grateful for that role, really, because like Drew Barrymore at this point, like I think this was the film that like got her back on the big screen because she hadn't done anything for a long time. And I think I mean, she did Donnie Darko. I mean, actually, Donnie Darko in 2001. This was like 5 years after Scream, but I mean, I think she must have done some stuff in the late '90s after Scream to get to, I think she did Never Been Kissed, which was maybe, no, that might have been after Donnie Darko. I can't remember. But needless to say, she was doing nothing before Scream, nothing. So even though she was the biggest star, actually, having said that, she wasn't even the biggest star. Courtney Cox was the biggest star of Scream because she'd been in Friends since '94, so she would have been by far the biggest star. But again, the good thing about Scream, well, you're at the cusp of like, you're like at that cusp of just before the internet has taken off and just before smartphones have become a big thing. So if this film had been made maybe a few years later, she would have just been straight on a smartphone and probably maybe would have immediately been on the phone to a boyfriend who wasn't answering. Maybe would have seen the warning signs earlier on and maybe just got, but that's the good thing. But I think that's why Scream it was almost lucky to come around when it did because it was one of the first films to really make use of like cell phones, mobile phones. But obviously, this is a time when the smartphones weren't smartphones, so they were very limited in what they could do. Once again, I've totally missed most of this film. I've probably do a couple more live commentaries throughout October, and then probably going to move away from live commentaries because I just feel like if unless you've got like a maybe 3 or 4 people watching along on screen with you, you kind of just get taken away from the film itself and just end up talking in the chat. So it kind of defeats the object of doing the live watch along. Maybe start like focusing on more like news topics. What's going on in the world of like film and particularly horror, and just basically do that, and just it brings the chat in more, and the chat's more lively as well. I've had more people in the chat when I've done that sort of thing. I've been doing like what I call the midnight stream, where it's just talk about random stuff, and it's always more lively chat going on. And you guys, it's obviously you guys are in the chat now, much appreciated. But in the past, there's been a lot more people on board, and maybe bring back the tier list rankings as well, live tier rankings, which are always fun to do because people are always like people really get involved in the chat with that as well. What you're going to pick next, and I've done like slasher films, I've done the Halloween films and the Friday the 13th films, but there's endless possibilities for those tier rankings. You can do like your top 10 Arnie films, or best you know fan footage films. Put them all together, and you've got the graphics page set up, and you just it's a fun thing to do, and it seems to be really popular as well. So Night Sean. Yeah, it's getting late. Yeah, 10 to 2. I will be far behind. Night, man. Nice gunshot wound to the head. Like, nice kill. If I remember rightly, there's one survivor from this film. Like, one of the bad guys survives in this film, which I think like sort of sets up a potential for a sequel, which I don't think is going to happen, unfortunately. Made the mistake of watching Stan Helsing donated to. No, Van Helsing's bad enough with Hugh Jackman. God, that film, awful film. I totally forgot about the boyfriend in this film who turns up at the last minute and then I think he just gets killed as soon as he arrives. Because he's a complete douchebag as well. He's just like a horrible character, and you think, is he going to become the hero of the film? And he just turns up and he just gets killed. I think he does anyway. So, that's it, my lineup for next week. So Hell House LLC live commentary is on Tuesday, I think. When is Halloween? What date are we on today? 24th today, so Halloween is next. Oh Christ, Halloween's next Sunday. Jesus Christ. Holy shit, I thought it was middle of next week. Because I've been up, not, been off work this week. You just totally lose track of the days. I thought it was like the 27th of October today. So we've got a full week of October left. Jesus, this has been like a really slow October. Well, that's a good thing. But it's really been, it's been really, really slow. I think it's because it's just been constantly sort of every night there's been stuff to watch. In terms like, people on YouTube just like churning out content. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I've just realised I made the mistake of going live and Dan's streaming live now, doing like a unboxing. I always end up like going live at the same time as when other people are going live, like an hour later. It can work in your favour, but it can work against you as well. Bit of a Michael Myers look at this point. I mean, there's bad guys in this film. They're quite ineffective. They're not really intimidating. They look intimidating, but they're not really the deadliest of.
But then they started killing them. I killed someone, but I ruined my face. Just for Aaron's guy, my shit.
I don't, not that I'm aware of. sometimes you get these a lot of these films, they'll put like a big name above, like from the produce, from the director of Cabin Fever or the director of Hostel, and it's like Eli Roth, and he'll have no bearing on the film whatsoever. He might it's like sometimes like an executive producer, like Quentin Tarantino. They used to use his name a lot in films. He might have been an executive producer on a film, and they'll just put his name in big capitals on the top of the up top at the top of the poster, or the move, the box art. When it's just a way of getting people in to watch a film, and they've got very little influence on the film. Just checking now. I don't think that. It certainly wasn't anything to do with the direction. He didn't write it. So he could have been an executive producer, which is, as I say, it's like this whole Alec Baldwin situation with the film he's working on. He's a producer on that film. Usually, it's just the way. It's just a lot of big stars, like the actors on these films. They'll act as producers or executive producers, and it doesn't mean an awful lot. But as I say, it's with some films, it's a way of getting a big name onto the front of on the poster art. Just to say that they were involved in some way, and they have very little to do with it. Like I say, Quentin Tarantino's the notorious one, and Eli Roth was used a lot back in the day. When Eli Roth was like hot, like when he just done Hostel and Cabin Fever, he was used a fair few times with like lesser films. My dog's just barking. Apologies. Dog's getting spooked. It's Halloween soon. Shut up. Shh. The ending to this is nowhere near as good as Hellfest either. Go for like a little bit of a twisty ending, but it just doesn't work. Not on the level that Hellfest did. Ooh, tired now. Yeah, it's a great film. Nice ending as well. But that was Haunt 2019 live commentary, although there wasn't much commentating going on in the film. Yeah, so I'll be back on Monday, live stream on Piz's channel, Patreon stream. You'll see me without a mask, probably. And then Tuesday, probably live Tuesday night. Just a random stream. Yeah, these live commentaries, I'm gonna do a couple more, but once October's out the way, just gonna be more focused on doing live streams, just talking, taking random articles, random topics, talking, maybe moving away from horror a little bit as well, just talking about other stuff. But yeah, so yeah, I'll be back Monday on Piz's channel, Tuesday night on this channel, usual time. Anthony, thanks for being in the chat, man. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. Sean, as always. Who else in the chat tonight? Lauren popped in briefly. Piz even popped in. DJ as well. Thank you guys. Anyway, I will see you on Monday on Piz's channel, and then Tuesday back here.